state of matter. And this is Gemini horoscope for December 2023. We got the ascendant on Algol, so we're going to honor Algol. So we're thankful for Medusa Gorgon to accompany us in this time, in this situation, worldwide, and to know that Medusa Gorgon is a being that we can petition, that we can connect with, that we can protect our voices, our communication, speaking up for the truth, protect from psychic attack, protect and validate our speaking up, whether it's against atrocities that were or are committed, and have our boundaries respected in spirit and in matter. So this is a moon day, sun hour, and the sun is combust with Mars on 27 degree of Scorpio here in the 7th house, moon on the anaretic degree of Aquarius, 29th degree applying to Saturn in Pisces, 0 degree Pisces, and Mercury is in the 8th house. So let's begin with Mercury ascendants for December 2023. First of all, the ruler of your ascendant will be retrograding, okay? And Capricorn for you is the 8th house. So that means that, first of all, the ruler of your ascendant is going to be in Capricorn the entire month and going retrograde. 8th house, first of all, having the ruler of your ascendant in the 8th house can be exhausting. It's a house where you and another person's energy merge. This is the house where you could be vampiric on somebody else's energy. It's just kind of like, you know, or somebody could be kind of like supposedly leeching you or something like that. It's the house of depth. It's the house of investments. It's the house of inheritance. It's the house of woo-woo stuff, okay, hidden, occult stuff. It's one of the houses where there's just stuff that you swipe under the rug. To assert your boundaries, you usually need to tend to something, to accept something, to deal with something. So that you clear it out. You're purging that out. So this is a month that's kind of exhausting for you. And it probably ain't for nothing that I turned to Algol on this issue. Because Mercury rules children, and 8th house rules also trauma. So maybe childhood trauma that you had. And then it can affect the speech, because Mercury rules language. And so Algol, Medusa Gorgon could be one of the deities you work with to assert your boundaries, or to deal with things, or to protect you while you're going or processing something. And Saturn, the ruler of this Mercury retrograde, is going to be in your 11th house. No, it's going to be in your 10th house. So whatever you're going through, those things that you've swiped under the rug, you're like, I can't deal with it now, is popping up in your public image. Okay? So let's say, you know, I have Libra 8th house. So think about Libra as balance, harmony, and stuff like that. And then I want to show, like, record something in my house, and I'm recovering from trauma, so I'm very exhausted. And so my house is not always top cleanliness. Or I want to show my kittens, it's kind of like, they're very cute, but the floor is dirty, or something like this. It's kind of like, oh, now it's just like, if I publish that as public, I did publish that. But it can be something like that for you. Okay, there's just something that you swipe out of the rug that becomes visible in the 10th. There's now, or there's a conversation you need to do with your boss, and it's touching on your trigger points. Okay, so compassion, kind of holding yourself, hugging yourself, compassion at every step. And sadness in your first house is just ongoing. Every once in a while, the moon, kind of triggers. So now right now is in Taurus, but she's going to ingress into Gemini. She's being in your first house. She's going to ingress into your first house, and this is like a couple of decades that every once in a while something's just going to be triggered there. So themes of betrayal could be coming up. And Algol, Medusa Gorgon, perhaps can be useful to kind of protect your voice, to assert your boundaries in this situation. Another benefic fixed star that can have its pitfall is Aldebaran or Antares, but those are in 10 degrees Gemini or Sagittarius. But because Sagittarius is in your 8th house, Sagittarius is in your 7th house, because the Mercury is going to be in your 8th house, then I am kind of not knowing. I think maybe just the Mercury in Gemini, a good Mercury in Gemini talisman, or a good Mercury in Virgo talisman can do some wonders for you at this time. Mercury Virgo is more like to deal with the details that you need to deal. Mercury Gemini is more like to divert your attention when you do need that to kind of keep your sanity. So both of them can work. You need to look at your own natal Mercury, because it's going to bring up the issues you have in your Gemini house, in your first house as well. Yeah. So this is like the most pervasive thing that you're probably going to experience this month. Other than that, so we have Venus ingressing into your 6th house. Can be something to do with your pets, or even enemies, or little quarrels, or your physical health. But it can also be something that is okay. And then she's going to go into your 7th. So Venus ingressing into Sagittarius. She's going to stay there until the 29th of December or so. Not 29, the 31. I think she does stay for the rest of the month. But the thing is that she ingresses to Sag in the end of the month, and then you're going to have this kind of 7th house lit. So you might meet a partner. Your relationship can be kind of having a more vivified energy to it, or it's a business partner. You form a business connection. In which case you still have to remember that Mercury is in your 8th house, okay? But if other transits are showing up for you, this could be a month where you do get to meet someone, okay? The I and other axis is activated for you. So Venus going through Sagittarius may be a more nice relational time. Again, you need to see if she's my benefic out of sect or benefic in sect, if your day chart or if your night chart. If the sun is below the horizon, then that means Venus is kind of a more pleasant for you. If the sun is above the horizon, you can actually just turn to Jupiter, okay? And Jupiter, although it is retrograde right now, you're not creating a talisman, you can just like petition or something. Jupiter is kind of like, hey Jupiter, can you fix that Venus for me for this ingress? And that's very likely to give you some opportunities that you will need to act on, or to change your philosophy around relationships and so on and so forth. And so this Venus is going to come into this new worldview that you have regarding one-to-one relations, and that one could work, okay? So this is another thing that's actually pleasant, or has the potential to be pleasant, that's happening for you towards the end of the month, actually. Jupiter is going direct in your 12th house in Taurus. And Jupiter going direct in your 12th house is, it can involve a little bit of a crisis, but also it just magnifies things, okay? And while Jupiter retrograde also magnified things, then the issues of how am I doing mentally, or what are my blind spots, or how do other people get to me in ways where we are not together. So how do we channel each other, or how do for example, I have 12th house Aquarius with Saturn in the 9th house, and so when I would be teaching then or learning, then I would have this kind of like others interfering or having their energy there, sometimes giving an input, sometimes good, sometimes this, sometimes I have to set the boundary. And so for you, you need to see where is Venus in your natal chart. And Jupiter can magnify the issues that you deal with. So whether it's asserting your energy, whether it's your dreams, I kind of call this episode Women on Top, because this is the kind of, with the situation that you have with the 12th house, Venus is ruling that 12th, and she's going to be in your 7th. So she's going to have a little, it's an inherent situation. When Venus crosses your 7th, she's going to have a little bit of the upper hand. Or your bedroom partner can have a little bit of the upper hand because they have an access to you that's kind of either your blind spot or through energy, or this is just energy connection where they kind of like, they get to you, okay? So it doesn't necessarily mean like women on top, physically, but definitely it is a situation where everything that's going in this Taurus now is magnified so that you can deal with that. And it can be the good things. You can have great time in the bedroom. It can be stuff like isolation or retreat. It can be a sense of loss or a loss of a relationship, okay? It can be affairs that you shouldn't be having, but it can also be affairs that just happen to you, like astral affairs or stuff like that, and you might be needed to assert some boundaries there. This is a situation. There can be excess because Jupiter rules your 7th. There can be excess, things with excess magnified, and now they're kind of beginning to be resolved as Jupiter is direct. But there is a sense of a kind of like a bit of a crisis around this resolution, or just kind of like the final crisis is kind of like I don't want that anymore, or the final crisis like I don't want to lose that. Okay, so this is also a thing. Of course, 12th house also your mental well-being. Yes, it's to do with hospitals, with jails, with exile. Hopefully that's not the case for you. If it is, then look for stuff going through your 12th. Then we have your 11th house with Chiron going direct in 15 degrees Aries. And then you really need to look at where is Mars natally in your chart. Mars is going to be in Sagittarius in your 7th when that happens. So when Mars is in Sagittarius, it can be severing ties, it can be arguments and conflicts, but it can also mean that you are having a good argument. So kind of like passion, friction, but also passion. And increased sexual activity with your partner, okay? It can be all of the above. And this is also ruling your 11th house and your 6th house. So for Chiron, the way that you've been asserting yourself with your colleagues, whether you're doing conference, or if you're an activist, your social agenda, or the way you've been chasing your dreams, or even with enemies that are amongst your colleagues, kind of like the social circles drama, even social media drama, is changing. You have had the time to tend to things, and now when something is going to hit on that wound, Chiron is going to be direct. You're not reflecting on this so much as you're just acting on your realization, the I amness, what was needed reassertion, you assert it and you get on with it. And because the ruler is in your seventh house, then that can have to do with your partner. For example, if you have an agenda, let's say you're a vegan, okay, and your partner likes meat, and your partner has this thing of kind of like dragging you or joking or at your expense, or kind of like picking at you, then you could be saying like, that's a no for me. I'm vegan. I'm not going to change the way I eat. No, you're not going to be doing that. You're not going to laugh at me. You're not going to, no, this is just a no for me. I'm not having these arguments with you. You're either going to radically accept the fact that I am who I am, or we are going to part ways, okay? So, and that is the way you're going to express yourself also with your colleagues, and because Mars is in your seventh, then it's kind of like an intimate thing, or you're going to take somebody and talk to them one-on-one, and you're going to assert your boundaries in that way, and that is kind of like, I mean, your DM, but it's kind of like a one-on-one interaction, seventh house interaction, that you're going to resolve this and assert yourself in that way, at least this month. Now we have Neptune going direct in your 10th house, co-present with Saturn. And this one, again, it also, what is the 10th house for you? Are you an artist or are you a psychiatrist? Okay, what is your occupation? Now with this Neptune going direct, which ruler is in your 12th house in Taurus, your gain can be your loss. Okay, you can get a promotion and it actually puts you through some loss or some even imprisonment. Let's say you went viral. Your video went viral, but it kind of defied the code of community discussion about medicine, and now you're being hospitalized, and you're like, what the heck is going on? So this is, and it sounds like an extreme case. It's unfortunately way realistic. So with this Mercury that is going through your 8th house, you're gonna need to reassess your wordings, because this Saturn is in your 10th and this Jupiter is in your 12th. Okay, so you're gonna have to maybe take legal consultation, maybe go through what the things that you say publicly, and it doesn't have to be on social media or in your art even. Okay, it could be a drawing, a sketch. With Mercury and with Pisces, it's more like an artistic blending into whatnot. But you could also, let's say, be a psychologist and psychiatrist that uses psychedelics, and now that's being banned, and you don't like beta blockers and you don't use them, and you've had an article about this, and now you're being hospitalized because you had an article that exposed beta blockers and so on. So stuff like this combination can arise, and so Mercury is going to help you to to get to the nitty-gritty details of what needs to be changed. And some of those experiences are, fated. But again, 12th house can simply mean that, your partner has a little bit of a one-up in the bedroom, and it can also be a positive thing, and that's pretty much it. But you will have to change something is changing in your 10th house, okay? With this Neptune that is fated, you may lose a position, or you might gain a position, but it can actually lead to loss. In the case where you have been doing misconduct, it can be like a sexual scandal breaking out because of the combination. It's kind of like Jupiter is here, Jupiter, the ruler of your 10th and your 7th in your 12th. So, if your partner has been your boss, or you have been the boss of your partner, some sex scandal could break out of it. And, hopefully you're not Bill Clinton in the sense of, corruption and misuse, and that's not what it is for you. But just know that those things can pop up as well, and then you're going to be asked to, you might want to resolve it with compensation financially, but it's not going to be possible. Like, if it's tourists involved, don't expect money to do the job. Like, they actually want to enjoy sex. That's the truth. Okay? Venus in Taurus is not about being a gold digger. It's about being at ease in my body when I have sex. When I have intimate relations. Sex is a very small word for what it is to be sexual in the Taurus Scorpio axis. Okay? So, of course, things can be different, but just so you get the point, because here you are really required to change something, and it's highly unlikely you'll be able to shush this up with a fiscal compensation. So it can be the case, but it's kind of like, you're really gonna have to deal with something. If this is Taurus, well, you're really gonna have to deal with something, because she wants to change. So that's it. Again, if it's about you speaking for the truth and you got into trouble because of that, Algol, Medusa Gorgon, highly important. The axis of Antares, Aldebaran, again, it's more advanced, because they have, with Antares you can be overly argumentative. I think it was Fear and Sundry publishing Antares, and I was just watching it. I'm energy sensitive. Then I went to the bank and I started arguing with everybody. It was like, I don't even remember if it was such a big deal. And I'm like, okay, I got what she was talking about. I probably have been an elephant in a China doll, where I could just be diplomatic and get my way the same, to get the same results. But that's something that can happen with some of the Antares work, not everything. If it's something professional for you and it's involving your partner and it's about you speaking the truth, then yes, Antares can work. But you definitely don't want to misuse the energy, and you can get cocky with Antares because it's Mars associated as well. And with Aldebaran, it's about the physical win. And here, with Mercury going through your 8th, you might, your win might be your loss. So I don't want to fail you. And so I would say working with the exalted, or with the Mercury in Gemini or Mercury in Virgo, might be the better choice. So definitely Medusa Gorgon, consulting Medusa Gorgon, and doing the right thing, respecting your boundaries, respecting your partner's boundaries, and the good Mercury to go with it. And then you still need to know which is the benefic for you. Is it Venus? Is it Jupiter? Can you work with either of them? And if you can, then choose the one that's better for you, so you can get the good results. And because there is this reception after the end of the month between Venus and Jupiter, Venus is going to be in Jupiter sign, Jupiter in Venus sign. If Venus is good for you, kind of like, hey, could you fix Jupiter for me? And Jupiter is good for you, like, hey, could you fix Venus for me? And that can definitely work. So, I think I touched on everything. And this is for you, Gemini, Ascendant, Sun, Moon, or Stellium.